Hey everyone, it's the beginning of your upkeep, so it's time for another episode of Recurring Insight. I'm your host Michael, and let's dive in. This video is a brewery episode where I walk through the thought process of building a deck. The generals we're looking at today are Akiri and Malcolm. I started by wanting to build around Malcolm, who is a one-card combo with glint-horn Buccaneer. If you got both on the battlefield, move to combat. Swing in with both. If glint-horn would survive combat, wait until Malcolm triggers. Otherwise, you can go for it before damage. Activate glint-horn to deal 1 damage to loot and ping each opponent. This triggers Malcolm, causing you to create 3 treasures. You can repeat this until your opponents are dead, unless one person has managed to pad their life total to an insane degree. Essentially, assuming you're in a pod of 4 people, with A, B, and C representing their life totals, it's shown by the following equations. As long as the player with the most life doesn't have more life than you have cards in your library, or more life than the sum of the life of the player with the second highest life, and 3 times the life of the player with the lowest life, you're good. In order to run this, we need to have a red partner commander. We've got a couple options besides Akiri, namely Tana and Vial Smasher. These give us 3 colors and Buccaneer, just like Akiri. Vial Smasher gives us black, which lets us use the Forbidden Tutor combo, and Ad Nauseam. Tana gives us green, which lets us tutor for Bucky, and it also enables Dockside. Akiri, on the other hand, gives us Reclamation, which turns Intuition into another 1-card win condition, as it can grab Reclamation, Breach, and LED. If you want to know more about the combo, I made a combo guide about it. You can watch it in the link that's hopefully posted on the screen. Savines also lets us recur Buccaneer if it's removed, and you can use Intuition to find Glint-horn, Reclamation, and some fast mana as an alternative to the Breach lines. So with Akiri, we've got Buccaneer and Breach. However, Jeskai isn't great at tutoring creatures, so we're using polymorph effects. This means that in addition to Intuition, we've got 4 other 1-card win conditions. This does unfortunately cut us off from Gilded Drake, Hullbreacher, and Drannith Magistrate. Now we need to establish what our game plan is. Intuition lines either require a decent amount of mana, or a decent amount of cards in our graveyard. Our polymorph lines require both our generals to be on the battlefield, and then you need to activate Buccaneer. Both of these reasons prevent us from being truly proactive. Malcolm provides consistent ramp, and Akiri provides a clock, but neither of them generate card advantage. This stops us from being able to count on outgrinding our opponents. I am working on a Malcolm and Timna deck that does count on going long, but we're not talking about that right now. Anyways, this puts us firmly in the mid game. We have enough 1-card win conditions to be able to close it out before the late game, so the deck composition is going to be geared towards surviving the early game and keeping the board free of stacks pieces. We're going to start with the stack interaction, since that's how we're going to survive Turbo Naz decks. We start with the blue counters that make it into every blue deck. Nothing shocking here. Then we have some that are dependent on our colors and commanders. Based on our game plan, we're also running Delay and Miscast. I do want to note the absence of Pact of Negation. It seems like it might have a home here, but in testing I found that I almost always would have preferred a different counter. Then we've got the removal. We're running a decent amount, as when testing the first drafts, I often found myself unable to win through a stacks piece. We've got the standard ones that you'd expect to see. We can't run Cursed Totem, so to deal with Dork decks, we're running Flame Sweep and Rough and Tumble. With the release of Hullbreacher and Opposition Agent, there are enough powerful permanents that I'm running more focused removal. There are enough artifacts and enchantments that hurt us, so we're also running Wear and Tear. With the amount of interaction and Malcolm's ability to ramp, we're extremely card hungry. We've got the expected cantrips, engines, and wheels. As Jeskai does suffer a lack of tutors, running additional cantrips, Faithless Looting and Frantic Search are cheap and provide graveyard fodder for Breach. Impulse and Opt are established tier 2 cantrips, so we're running those as well. Then we have Dig Through Time, Recurring Insight, and Seagate Restoration, which serve as outlets for our excess treasures. However, Seagate Restoration is a land 9 times out of 10. Wheel of Misfortune is a great new card for us, as we aren't dependent on our life total, and it's another wheel effect. Looking at the tutors, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have too many. The 2 non-combo tutors are Mystical Tutor and Enlightened Tutor. We're not proactive enough to run Gamble, and I don't like Personal Tutor or Merchant Scroll. They're both subpar and telegraph what we're doing. Then we're running Intuition and the polymorph effects. Proteus Staff is the worst of these due to the cost. It's 6 mana to cast and activate versus a polymorph effect that costs 4. However, if Glint-horn is removed, you can use it to stack your library for a quick comeback. Due to the deck's game plan, we can't afford to run many pieces that don't advance our own game plan. Additionally, many of the best stacks pieces either hit us or don't hit ad nauseam stacks. Narset, however, provides a powerful passive effect and helps us dig. Additionally, although it's more of a footnote, but Akiri is amazing at protecting her. You already know what's coming with the recursion. We've got Breach and Reclamation. Breach is broken and Reclamation enables it. It can also be used for value, although it only happens rarely. If we look at the ramp, it's going to be fairly standard. We're running the rocks you'd expect to see, along with Smothering Tithe. We're also running some ramp that's based on our commanders, like Jessica's Will, Mox Amber, and Mox Opal. Our low CMC commanders help Jessica's Will and Mox Amber, and Malcolm helps turn on Mox Opal when you're light on artifacts. We're also running a couple rocks that mainly see play in fast decks. While we're not a proactive deck, these can help us leave mana up for protection and enable an early Malcolm. LED also serves as a combo piece. Then we have some less interesting choices that aren't run because they're extremely good, but just to increase our ramp density. Blue takes priority, followed by red, hence the lack of Azorius Signet. I'm not going to go over the mana base to conserve time. Additionally, for a 3-color deck, the mana base is pretty straightforward unless you're running Back to Basics or Blood Moon. Looking at a general overview, we're running a high amount of interaction, which promotes our game plan. It's fueled by a high amount of card draw, which also compensates for the lack of tutors. However, most of the tutors are 1-card win cons, which also helps account for that. The ramp is sizable, more or less on par with other mid-range decks. As for how it's positioned in the meta, that's hard to judge. There are decks with similar game plans that don't rely on polymorph cards, which allows them to run creatures. Breach, however, is still extremely strong, so while this isn't the best deck in the category, it can hold its own and has a strong sense of inevitability. It performed well in testing, but it does best in a mixed pod. If the pod is weighted too heavily towards stacks or proactive, we can struggle to either get our combo online or to keep them under control. And that's about it. If you have any cool brews you're working on, feel free to share in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and getting us to over 400 subscribers. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Michael, and I'll see you at the beginning of your next upkeep for another episode of Recurring Insight.